So, Bonzie Colson at the University of Notre Dame is probably one of the most underrated players in this year's draft. Part of that, I think, is due to the fact that he is coming off of two foot injuries in the last 5 or 6 months, and also the fact that he's only 6'5" and is really naturally a power forward. So, I'm going to go over and dispel some of the weaknesses that people think he has that they think might limit him at the next level, go over some of the areas where I think he's going to really excel, and also describe some areas for improvement. This first clip is going to highlight one of the areas where Bonzie is going to be really effective at the next level. At only 6'5", he does have a 7-foot wingspan, uses it well to finish high on his floaters, on his hook shots, also on his jumpers. Right here, he's going to catch it in the middle against Duke zone. This is a 6'10", 7-foot plus wingspan Wendell Carter right here waiting to defend this shot. Instead of forcing something into him, goes up over the defense and gets that to fall. Now, right here, this is going to be one area where Bonzie's going to have to kind of pick and choose when he wants to try to draw a foul. Right here, we see he tries to go through the chest of Wendell Carter, doesn't get the call, ends up being a missed shot. Now, as we saw in the last one, if he catches this and turns right away, if we back this up, he has a floater initially when he catches it. Right here, this is a little short jumper floater if he wants it. Carter's backing up to guard Gavin. But he makes a decision to take the power dribble, try to go up through him. Now, the problem with this, and the reason why this is going to be an issue if Bonzie consistently tries to do this in the NBA, is that while he does have a pretty strong upper body, he doesn't have the strongest of legs. So trying to power through these guys is going to have to rely on him having a stronger upper body than the guy he's going up against. Wendell Carter is pretty much a grown man even as a freshman. There's going to be bigger, stronger guys in the NBA. So finishing through guys is going to be more difficult, as we see here. But one thing that Bonzie can do is he can finish around guys due to his length. We're going to see good passing right here. Good whip pass. Marty's going to make the extra pass. And right now, he's got the defender off balance. He can get into him and use his length to finish around guys. Now, when we talk about something you need to have in the NBA, no matter what position you play, is you need to have a good understanding of how to play at your own pace. Never go too fast. Don't get rushed. Don't get sped up. That's really the making of a pro mentally. Right here, Bonzie's going to get it against the middle of the zone. Carter steps up again. Right here, we kind of see it looks like Carter's trying to showing. Doesn't really know if he wants to take him or take this drop off. This pass is here, a little bounce pass, and that's probably a dunk. But what Carter does is he backs up. So at this point, Carter kind of could guard Gavin as well as Bonzie right here. Grayson Allen's coming to help down. But because Carter doesn't make a decision, he doesn't commit to Colson, he hits that little floater again. Having that patience in the middle of the lane is something that's huge, especially as a role guy. If you're getting it in the NBA, you're going to have guys swarming towards you. To have that patience and understand how to read the defense and finish is going to be key. Now, where Bonzie's going to be especially effective in the NBA is in pick and rolls. So what Mike Brey runs at Notre Dame is really a system that allows for a lot of screen and rolls, a lot of spacing, and a lot of freedom for guys to make decisions. So that means for 4 years, Bonzie has basically been in a style where there's open space. He gets to understand what he wants to do and really understands how to read screens in the pick and roll game. So right here, we're going to see Pfluger's going to come off, a nice little fake there and a good bounce pass, and Bonzie finishes. If you watch any NBA game, you will see dozens of these same side ball screens. And if you have a slower big on you, right now Bonzie does, and he's going to kind of head soft, it's going to be slow getting around there. There's that tiny window. What Bonzie does an exceptional job at is finding open space, whether that be against a zone, which he's not really going to see as much at the next level, or in the pick and roll game, he creates that outlet, creates that space for the pass. And then once he gets it, good touch, solid length, he can finish. If you are a 6'5" post player, you're going to have to find some ways to really add value in different ways than, say, a 6'10", 6'11" guy who can just use his size as an asset. What guys like PJ Tucker do, and that's a little bit different because he's a natural small forward kind of playing down, is you make an impact with your IQ, with your ability to shoot the basketball, ability to be tough, and make some plays on the offensive end. Now, Bonzie's not the physical monster that PJ Tucker is, nor does he have that defensive prowess, but he can score effectively offensively and has an array of moves both in the post and around the basket to score. So right here we're going to look at what's really the bread and butter for Bonzie Colson, and that's that little turnaround jump shot. He goes to it a lot, and he hits it a bunch. In college, Bonzie was one of the most effective low post scorers in the nation, especially when he gets over this right shoulder. That shot is cash. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions about whether or not he can do this against NBA players, but as you saw in the graphic earlier, and as you'll see throughout these videos, Bonzie has been doing this against top-level, sometimes lottery picks for the last 4 years. He's been dominating them. He hasn't just been, passing by. He's been putting up big numbers, showing his toughness, showing his ability to make big plays against top players who have length, who have athleticism. And the reason why this shot is so difficult to block as a defender is because of that 7-foot wingspan. The way he's shooting the ball and the release point is so high that you wouldn't even know he's 6'5". I mean, if you compare it to Marvin Bagley, for example, Marvin Bagley has a 7-foot wingspan, which is exactly the same as Bonzie's. So as a defender, it's difficult to get up there and block that shot. Here we're going to see some skill in the post. Personally, right here, I would like to see Bonzie just go straight to the basket. Farrell would probably hit him just based on the fact that his man is trailing right now. But we're going to see him catch it where he likes to catch it. About 12 to 15 feet, get a little clear out, especially in an NBA system when you have a bunch of shooters around, or even if you have another post, you can still have this tiny, small isolation here. He's just going to take 2 dribbles, a nice little shimmy one way, finishing with the and one. That is a move that you work on in workouts all the time. And I'm sure if you look at the top prospects, you look at the Mo Bambas, Jaren Jacksons, Marvin Bagleys, you're going to see them working on this in workouts and in some of the videos you might see. Bonzie not only has worked on this, but he puts it in playing games, and it is effective, and he's comfortable going to it. Right there, he gets straight up into a defender, finishes with contact. Now, this is the one time at all last year where I felt like Bonzie was clearly overmatched, and that was against likely top 5 pick Jaren Jackson. Jackson's length this entire game was an issue. Bonzie had a hard time finding an open look, got blocked a number of times, and just couldn't really do any of the stuff he normally does. So if there's a game for criticism, this is going to be the game that a lot of people are going to look at and say, this is what he can't do against length. Right there we see it's one of the times that Jaren Jackson got a hand on his shot. Now, the reason that I don't think this is necessarily something that we should use as a critical point for Bonzie is because Jaren Jackson is, in my opinion, the best all-around defensive big man in this draft, and is going to be among the top tier defensive big men in the league in terms of switching, guarding the ball, using his length. It's really quick. He has about a 7'4" wingspan, so we see right here, this is a shot that's easy for him to block. It's a shot that he can get to. Normally, Bonzie hits this, no problem. Contest usually doesn't do anything, doesn't faze him at all. Jackson has the length. So you do wonder if he does play against, longer guys, are they going to be able to make this impact, and is Bonzie offensively going to be neutralized? But to me, what I think is more likely to happen is what we see right here. Right here, Gavin Schilling's going to go up a little bit too high. Bonzie's going to slip the screen. Doesn't have the drive right there, It's going to show some patience, get right back over that shoulder, and hit that turnaround. I think this is what you're going to see more often than not, especially since teams are so heavy into switching now. If you switch and you even put a 6'7", 6'8" guy on Bonzie, due to his wingspan, patience, has a great touch, he's going to figure out ways to operate in the post. Gavin Schilling is about 6'9", strong kid, really good contest right here, but Colson's able to finish anyway. Now this clip is going to show one of the reasons why I think it was beneficial for Bonzie to come back to school for his senior season. I think if he left as a junior, we could be talking about a potential early second-round pick based on his performance against the ACC teams that he played. And now we see coming off a couple foot injuries, it's possible he could go, mid to late second round, potentially undrafted. But I think if you actually look at the skill set and what he's added from junior to senior year, you'll see he's even more dangerous of an offensive player. So we're going to see right here a solid post up, catches it where he wants, and faces up. A couple dribbles, a little nice step back fall away shot. There's no way to guard that. I mean, as in a face-up position, Bonzie is probably one of the more dangerous scorers in the draft out of all the power forwards and really all the players because he can make these types of shots. Right here, just use his body to get in, little step back. Because of his length, because of the high release, that shot's not going to get blocked, and it's going to be hard to contest. And yes, I understand that was against Mount St. Mary's. So here's an example of Bonzie going to work against a bigger opponent. This was a couple years ago when Notre Dame was playing Purdue. He's going up head-to-head against Caleb Swanigan, who was a first-round talent. Bonzie's giving up about 4 or 5 inches and at least 30 pounds right here. Look at the patience. Spins back over, gets into his body, and finishes. When you're a coach and you're telling your players how to go up against size, this is exactly what you want. You want to see them get into the body of the shot blocker, neutralize their jumping ability, and finish. Not that Swanigan was the most fearful shot blocker in the country, but there's not too many guys in the NBA right now that have the combination of size and height that Swanigan has, especially in the modern NBA. And then right here, this is former number 2 overall pick Brandon Ingram right here against Bonzie Colson. This game, Colson dropped 31 and 11 on Ingram. And this is just another example of the ability that Bonzie has to score not just against, average college players, against top-level college players, against NBA players. Right here, he's going to take a couple dribbles, just bodied, and that's a weight room problem right there. Has something to say to Ingram after. And we see it's a couple power dribbles right here. Like we saw with Swanigan, you get into the chest of a guy that's long, and you can finish. Yeah, that's definitely a weight room problem. Now, when I brought up the P.J. Tucker comparison earlier, I brought that up to really highlight the fact that if you're going to be an undersized player playing in the post in the NBA today, you're going to have to be able to rebound. If you're 6'4", 6'5", trying to bang with 6'9", 6'10" guys, and you can't rebound, you can't play. That's one thing that Bonzie's not going to have an issue with. He averaged over 10 rebounds a game last year, was right around 10 as a junior as well. He really pursues the ball well. We're going to see a 3 right here, and he just displaces his guy, goes and gets it, and finishes with a dunk. This is the effort and energy that you need. You need to be able to create second chances, get defensive rebounds as well, but really give your team an opportunity to get extra possessions. We see right here, that's not a bad box out. It's clearly not all the way accounted for right here, but it's a solid box out. Bonzie's just going to go around him, pursue the ball, and he can finish once he gets it. Again, right here, we're going to see on the defensive side, it's great hands and ability to pinpoint the ball at its peak. Now, right here, my issue is that right now there's no box out. He's just jumping for the ball, which against Mount St. Mary's, against some lower level teams, that would work. In the NBA, G League, overseas, wherever he ends up playing, that's not going to cut it because you're going to have guys who are strictly professional basketball players for their ability as athletes and as rebounders. You're going to have to be able to get a body on somebody before you get it. But what this does show is he's getting this ball right at the peak, right around the rim because of his long arms. And that's what's really going to help him and is going to be able to work well when he gets the opportunity to play in the NBA, is the ability to get rebounds in traffic. And then once he gets it, starting the break right here as Gibbs finishes. Because rebounding is a lot about effort. It's about timing. It's about understanding. And when you can get rebounds at a high rate, you can carve out a role in the NBA. So right here, we're going to see him against Marvin, Bagley right here. Almost a lock to be a top 3 pick this year. One of the best rebounders in the country. We're going to see Bolden is going to miss a shot here. Bonzie's not only going to cut off Bagley from a straight line to the basket, but he's going to go up and get it in traffic and then save it. That's the toughness, that's the energy that needs to be present all the time. Right here, at this point, Bagley is normally getting right around guys. This might be a putback dunk. Because of Bonzie's length, he can get it right before Bagley can get to it. Probably should have even been a foul right here. But that's a rebound in traffic that you love to see out of an undersized forward. And then here's another example. This is just a guy who wants the ball more than everybody else on the court. We're going to see the shot up. And let's count this. 1, 2, 3, 4 Florida State guys in the paint. If I'm Leonard Hamilton, I probably would have lost my mind at this point. Bonzie is the first one to the ball, gets past all 4 of these guys and finishes. This ended up being his career 1,000th point. Look at that finish. This is just a guy saying, I want this ball more than all of you guys. I mean, he gets off the ground first. Only hand you really see in the picture other than Jonathan Isaac is Bonzie Colson's. He's not much of a high flyer, but you see right here, he can get the ball up high and he can finish. So offensively, I think Bonzie is going to be able to add a lot of value to some rotation in the NBA due to his ability to make shots both in pick and roll situations, really good in the screen outlet game. He has a nice floater, nice turnaround jump shot. He can hit mid-range face-up shots, as we'll see later in this analysis. And he really has a good understanding and feel for where to operate and find open space. But defensively is the one spot where I kind of have questions about his game. I don't know who he's going to guard, how he's going to be able to guard them, because he doesn't really have the foot speed to stay in front of wings. And he does have the 7-foot wingspan to kind of help him guarding posts, but still at 6'5", that's a little bit of a disadvantage against, the top level of post players. Right here, we're going to see in the pick and roll game where he can make an impact. So it's just a simple screen, and Bonzie's just going to jump in and take it. He does this on a consistent basis, gets up in the ball handler in a pick and roll, and really surprises him because as a guy who's only about 6'5", he's only a few inches taller than Trevon Duval. So when he's turning this corner, he's probably thinking, all right, this is my time to attack. I got a post out on me. Colson jumps, takes the ball, he's not protecting it, and leads to a foul on the other end. Now, this is where he has to improve. Screen right here. He's going to show pretty hard. Almost looks like a double team, actually. But he stays out too long. He stays out too long right here. As a result, Gebben has to take him, and there's actually going to be another screen coming back up. So Gebben's going to have to come up and help. And Bonzie's slow getting back, no communication. This ends up being a wide open jump shot for Grayson Allen. He's not going to make it, and Colson finishes with the rebound. This has to be played differently. Right here on the screen, the initial hedge was fine. When he turns the corner, right here, that's fine. Turn around, get back to your guy, go figure out what's going on, at least get back to the ACC so when the second screen comes, you have an idea what to do. Instead, he stays out too long. Now Gebbin has to absorb Marvin Bagley. So at this point, Gebbin's got Bagley. Bonzie's got to be on Bolden, who's not really much of a threat outside of 5 feet, so it wouldn't be too difficult to get back to that. Fortunately, he tries to go all the way back to Bagley. Not really quick, kind of seems lost here. And now when Pfluger gets rescreened by Bolden, it's a wide open jump shot that, is normally going to get hit. So it's just that quickness and that reaction time that's going to have to really get improved. The defensive IQ is just going to have to be a little bit better against some of the NBA pick and rolls and the intelligence of some of the ball handlers. But aside from the pick and roll defense, I think one of the fears people have is that due to his height disadvantage, guys are just going to be able to abuse him in the post. And he has the upper body of a post player, but the lower body more of a wing, has really thin legs. So you wonder if he's going to be able to absorb the strong back downs from some of the bigger post players who have more size, strength, and athleticism to go over him. Right here, I think, is going to give you a strong example of where he can still make an impact. And that's with his length. It's the type of situation where a lot of guys will get blocked or get the ball ripped by Colson because they just don't understand how long his arms are. You see a guy who's only about 6'4", you don't expect him to come up and get this block. Right here, he kind of gets beat on the spin, but he doesn't give up on the play, and he has the length to recover, which as a post player, that's all you can ask. You're not going to win every battle, but when you do get beat, you're going to have that speed, you're going to have that ability to get back into play and still contest. Right there, he does a good job of it. So I think when people say they have worries about his ability to guard in the post, I think this is an example. The lack of strength in his base shows up in these situations. But again, Caleb Swanigan is a massive individual compared to the guys that I believe he'll be guarding, which is more guys who are kind of 3-4s, leaning more towards the 4s. Here, just a couple dribbles, and then just gets bodied down right there. In the NBA, I'm seeing Bonzie more as a second unit type of guy who comes in and gives you an offensive spark off the bench. If he's in these situations against bigger guys, I think the help will come. I don't think he'll be left on an island right here. I mean, right there to the shoulder, could possibly call that a charge, but I don't think you're going to have to worry about that too much in the NBA, just based on the fact that there's not a lot of guys his size, and I think Bonzie will be able to use his length to at least neutralize some type of the strength that he's going to face. And he could really help himself in these areas if he didn't let something like this happen. Watch Marvin Bagley right here. It's a quick post up in the lane. He tries to fight a little bit, which you got to appreciate, but it's too late. Right here, to really avoid that, number one, you don't really want to leave Bagley. You can't really leave Bagley here just because his ability to finish lobs. So when Allen turns his corner, he has to be ready to help. This has to be a jump up because as soon as Bagley gets here, you've already lost. He's already in a position to turn right back over to his left hand. And then once he gets that, your only option is to foul or give up a layup or dunk, potentially an and one. So Colson has to do his work a little bit earlier on this. If we watch the whole thing again, the screen's coming, he knows it's coming. So this is kind of a sneak duck in right here. Don't really know the play's going there initially, but he's just got to do a better job of getting around earlier, and that'll make life easier for him defensively. But when we look at his ability to guard the basketball, and I think this is the discussion that there was last year when his draft prospects I thought were really starting to go up was, is he going to have the ability to play the 3, or is he going to be more of a 4-man? I think he'd be totally fine playing the 4, and I think he can guard some of the quicker 3s in isolation situations if he can give them space and use his length. Right here, we're going to see Bagley, very athletic 4-man, gives him some space, not a guy that's really going to hurt you with his jump shot at this point in his career. Moves his feet well. Look, stays off of him, comes back, knows he's coming back to the left hand, and then gets a good contest. Probably got away with the travel right there. This is what you need to see defensively, and this is what you like to see out of a guy who's going to be undersized. It's not necessarily the ability to lock guys up. I think that's a common misconception, is that people think if a big man can't lock up guys on switches who are quicker than them, that it's going to be a detriment. No, you just have to be able to use your length effectively to not make it easy. Right there, Bagley's got size on him. He's got athleticism on him. But Bonzie uses his length well to frustrate him and make life difficult. Now, to me, this is where Bonzie Colson can really take that next step into being a guy who is a consistent rotation player, really valuable piece to a team's second unit, is if he can continue to improve his face-up game and his perimeter skills. Already has a good mid-range jump shot. Didn't shoot the three as well as he did in the past, but it's a shot that I think he's going to be able to make as he works on it more. Is a solid passer. Some people want to make the Draymond Green comparison. He doesn't really have the vision like that, but he does kind of have a little bit of that toughness and ability to kind of do some work on the break with the ball in his hands. But right here, we're going to see in the screen outlet game, he steps out, he can just knock down that mid-range shot. And we're talking about a guy from 15 to 18 feet who is very, very consistent. In the screen and roll game, as we saw earlier, he has a problem. Now this is actually a smart read right here, as the help defense is right underneath the basket. If he goes in, he can get that post up, or he can pop out, and that's a good jump shot right there. Right here, this is the only problem that sometimes comes up with his jump shot, is that he doesn't always fully get his legs under him and ends up coming short on them. But I do think that's something that can get fixed. Really, if you diagnose the cause of this, when you jab step with your off foot, that's a difficult shot anyway, gathering that energy. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think he'll work that out and figure that out. So, like I said, with the three-point shot, it's a shot that he can make, and he really has made for the last couple of years. Percentage went down to about 29% this year. He was around 43% as a junior. But it's definitely a shot that he can make. And I talked about how I was really impressed with his advanced footwork on the step back he had earlier, and I believe that was something that came with the work from junior to senior year. Now, here again is going to be a three off the dribble, and this is something that I don't think he'd be making as a junior. Comes back to school, works on it, and that's a shot that he can make. Didn't take a lot of threes off the dribble this year, but you'd like to see the comfort. Nice between the legs move there. Couple dribbles, shot clock's running down. And has the comfort to pull up, hand in his face, and he knocks that down. That's a shot that I don't think he's going to be asked to do. He's not going to be having to create a lot off the dribble from the three-point area, but if that's a shot that he can make, that's going to be a huge asset moving forward. And it's not just the ability to knock down threes, but the ability to make some plays off the bounce. Here we're going to see him catch it, go right at Brandon Ingram, gets the contact and finishes. Straight line drives for a 3 or 4 are something that is important that you can do. Now, he's not the quickest, but he catches it with Brandon Ingram's feet out of position, attacks. Again, like you see, he doesn't really explode to the rim here at all. It's not the most explosive, really not fast at all. And Ingram does catch up with his length. But one thing he does a good job of is, again, neutralizing the shot blocker, getting the contact, and finishing. And finally, right here, this is just a guy clearing everybody out so I can take you off the dribble. Nice little running hook right there. I mean, I don't know. This is borderline disrespectful, waving everybody out. But when you're feeling like this, and you know your guy can't guard you, you like to see the confidence right here. Goes straight to the post, takes a couple dribbles, nice little running hook, and finishes that.